Well, welcome back to another episode. It's actually been a bit of a while. Sorry we've been a bit slack, but it's that time of year when stuff's going on and it's not as easy to meet up in person. But here we are, Brad and Sogg on the bench. Well, it's kind of like a couch. It's a towel over a nice little bench against a nice plain wall. But anyway, as you can tell by the video, we're going to be talking about Carl Robertson, the Wanderers, and all that kind of crap that's going on right now, which I feel like it'd become a bit of a rant for me, and Samuel's just going to laugh here. But anyway,
we thought it might be an interesting dynamic. We don't play on the fact that you're a Wanderers fan and I'm a Sydney fan too much, but we thought this kind of video might actually work for it because obviously I love the guy and I think he should get another contract. And obviously Brad's maybe a little bit bitter, but there's deeper issues going on. It's maybe not just Robbo. So we thought, all right, let's play on this. Let's tease it out a bit. Let's see someone who hates the situation, someone who loves the situation, what we actually think about it. So yeah, let's dive in and have a little chat about Robbo, because I think if you check back in our prediction video, I think we were on Coast Watch Football, fantastic channel, check him out. If you haven't already, what are you doing? But I predicted that Robbo would be sacked by week 8.
Here's my hot take. Carl Robinson will be sacked 8 games into the season. I don't think they'll make the 6.
I think I picked his number last season. Really, he came in well with the Jets, and then he had a season, or almost a whole season with Wanderers, and nothing really changed. And I think he'd shown us everything he had. And this season started exactly the same. This is only his second season in charge of Wanderers, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it feels like you guys have been suffering under him for a while.
I feel like we've not been suffering under Robertson for that long compared to some other people at the club. But
before we touch on that, though, let's kind of dive into Robbo. So, what do you think he's? I mean, people have chatted about it a lot. What do you think his issue is? Why aren't the Wanderers succeeding under a coach who they've given a lot of license?
I think I saw a stat. They've had the second highest amount of shots on target, so they're definitely not taking their chances.
Wow.
But the guy they've got up front in Bernie Abini isn't renowned for scoring heaps of goals. It comes back to so much. Like if we had Mitch Duke there instead, how many more games we could have won or goals we could have scored, who knows. But I think it comes down to a lot of not taking our chances, but it's so much more than that, I think. And it really, the first couple of, I was, obviously last year wasn't great with Robbo, but, I think we played quite well. The first game, the draw against Derby, then we drew 2-2 with Newcastle, and it was some concerning things, but we didn't lose. So I was like, all right, we'll see how we go. The win against Wellington wasn't convincing, but we still won. And then it was the game I went to against MacArthur that I really started to worry. And then that loss against Mariners, that was just, all credit to Mariners, deserved the win, but we were just pathetic. And I think it was really telling in his press conference when the journalist asked him, what's going on up front with not being able to score, and his response is,
I'm not sure.
And that's a terrible response, mate. Like, you're the coach, you're paid to know what's going on, or even if you don't know, at least come up with some nice convincing wordplay to tell us that you do know what's going on. And it's simple as like not taking our chances. That's why we haven't been winning games, but we aren't looking great. And I think we've probably gotten worse since last season, and that's not a good thing considering the amount of quality we've brought into the squad.
And I think that's one of the big things. Like, it's interesting that the wordsmith Carl Robinson couldn't come up with the words to answer why his team's doing bad, but give him 45 seconds in an advert and sell the West. He's beautiful. I think he's managed to pull off this elaborate hoax and sweet talk players to come and join the Wanderers. But looking at the players he's signed, I don't think he has a plan. And looking at the football they play, it doesn't look like they have a plan. I'm actually I'm surprised to hear that they have the second most amount of shots on target, because...
Or it might just be shots at goal. I don't know if it's on target, but it's definitely shots.
Because looking at their gameplay, I don't think they know how to make their way to goal. And I think this might be something. It could be interesting that maybe it is the individual talents actually pull something out in the front third, but there isn't actually a thought through process tactically of how they can break teams down and get to goal. I think I saw it heaps in the game against Sydney. Both teams like to hold the ball at the back and pass between their two central defenders, but Sydney have a really clear identity of those wingbacks push up, the CDM drops in between the two centre mids, which allows everyone else to progress up the field, and they can pass their way, and they find their struggles. But with Wanderers, a lot of the time, you see Reece Williams pass it to Ugarkovic. Is it Ugarkovic? Oh no, sorry. Who's the other guy that's playing at centre back with the long hair from the Jets? Katrumbas. Katrumbas. They pass it between each other, and then they pass it between each other, and then they look forward, and their midfielders are standing still. Both of their fullbacks are standing still. And they pump a long ball to Bernie Obini and Tomer Hamed, who, to their credit, are good in the air, and so they manage a little knockdown and someone does something with it. But I think that's their game plan. They keep possession for a while, and then they go, oh crap, all right, well let's play a long ball in behind and hope the quick guys do something with it. And they've managed that a few times, but I think when they signed Tomer Hamed as the replacement for Mitch Duke, that's warning signs. He's not an improvement. He played okay, but he's not.
They're also very different kind of players as well.
Well, but
he's more of a target man.
Is he trying to get them to play differently? Because Mitch Duke was a target man. Mitch Duke is a target man. He's a bit more energetic about it in a Matt Simon kind of way, but he's a target man because he's got a great first touch. He actually dominates a defence and gets in front and then plays it off and then gets in behind. Tomer Hamed holds the ball up. He doesn't get back in behind though. But I think they're expecting him to do what Duke did, but he actually plays differently. But I think that comes down to the game plan. There's not a clear, I'm signing this player for this game plan. It's, well, I need a striker. Oh, Hamed's free. Let's buy Hamed. Like, let's get in Steven Ugarkovic because we didn't have a CDM last season. We lost Bruce Kamau, so let's sign another winger.
He was probably one of our better players last season. Yeah. Decided to let him go for no real reason. I mean, Mitch Duke, I think, was on loan, so that was always going to probably happen. But yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I don't think the backline's been particularly bad. I think it's though it comes up to the responsibility of everyone else working in the midfield and the forward line. I think actually, maybe it just goes to show how poor of a run we're on. Is James Teresi, who's actually played quite well in the past 2 weeks. When I went to the MacArthur game, I thought him and the Japanese import played quite well.
Yeah.
I actually think we played quite well against MacArthur, but they kind of sat back and let us have it, and we should have taken our chances. But then MacArthur changed up the tactics at halftime. They said, well, go for it, play high press, and they got us. And that's all credit to the MacArthur, having a game plan, changing it up. And I think when we went a goal 2 down, we weren't changing the game plan. We weren't adapting to the situation. And the same with the Mariners. I think we were either 1 or 2-0 down, and Robertson brings on 2 defenders. It's like we don't need defenders. We get rid of a defender and bring on another attack. And we were playing with I think 3 at the back last year. Now we've gone to 4. I think he's changed up his whole tactics. It's not a good look when your coach changes his overall philosophy of the way you want to play.
Unless it's going to bring results, right?
And bring results, and it hasn't. Yeah. Well, I mean, we've got to win against Wellington, and no disrespect to Wellington, but I don't think they'll be winning too many games this year. It's
not brought better football, though.
I think it's harder and harder to watch. But it's not like, I think sacking Robertson, I think it's just inevitable, and I think it's the wrong. But then half of me thinks, well, I'm actually worried. If we sack him, who do we bring in? Do they bring in Mark Rudin, Lord forbid, or
potentially?
Or Stajic, I don't think it'd be too bad, but he's just joined the Women's Philippines team. So I don't know. In the whole COVID situation, it's hard to bring in like a quality manager. I think they're limited with the options, and I think we sack him. Are we going to get an upgrade? Are we going to get the same kind of coach?
Well, I think anyone with a game plan probably would be an upgrade. I think Stajic would be an upgrade, but he's been told before in the past that he wasn't good enough. Mark Bosnich interestingly tweeted that somebody is interested, and it would be really interesting and grab international headlines. He reckons he never actually let slip who that was. He answered a few no's, but I don't know why you'd want the Wanderers job, and I guess that takes us on to the next point, the deeper kind of issues. I hope Robbo. Look, as much as I'd love to say, yeah, keep Robbo there and let the club fall to bits, I really don't want that. Like, the Wanderers, I hate the saying, you know, the A-League needs a strong Wanderers. I don't believe that. I think teams being crap is great for the league, because who doesn't love to go and smash a team? But I think the Wanderers deserve better. The crowds, really, they got their success, but there have been, and they got it early, but there's been a heap of fans, yourself included, who've now stuck around for 6 years with nothing. Essentially nothing.
And I think the crowds have actually been quite good for it. They were the highest last year during a COVID interrupted season.
You survived through spotless stadium.
And I think people say, oh, they're all bandwagon fans. I said, well, if you look at statistics, they haven't particularly I mean, there was a drop off when we went to that Oval Stadium, and you know that just happens because it's a crap football stadium. Well, I mean, it's not a football stadium.
The fans are there,
but the fans are there, and you know, I think, you know, getting 8,000 crowds outside the derby is actually pretty good considering the state of the crowds. And so 100% the fans deserve better, and you know, I think it's up to the fans now to tell the club that, you know, we're fed up with Robertson, but I think I wouldn't say fed up. I think we're fed up with the club and the people running it. I think it's not a good look when two ex-coaches or staff that have been involved in, Dean Heffernan and Patrick Zwanswijk, come out and saying, you know, the environment's toxic, and it's not so. Like, when I heard that, I was like, well, I'm not actually shocked. Like, I think we all knew that. I think, you know, Robertson previously has shown that he's capable. Like, he came to Newcastle and performed quite well when he came in. He was at Montreal Impact for like 6-7 years. Took him to the semi-final, like the conference final, whatever they call it over there, the game before the grand final. So I don't think he's a particularly bad coach. I just think there's so much more going on at the Wanderers, because he has the players capable. We know all these players at the team are very capable on their day, but why aren't they firing?
And I wondered that. So you've got the owner is Paul Lederer. But obviously an owner, he's a bankroller really. But the CEO, the person who's really in charge of football side of things is John Sitzmas.
JT.
And he's the person that most hardcore Wanderers really have a problem with. He's obviously in charge of hiring and firing people, and he's somebody that has been called out apparently about this culture kind of thing. And Carl Robinson's come in under that criticism from Zwanswijk and from Heffernan as well. So where does the blame actually land for Wanderers fans? Is it on Carl Robinson? Is it on JT? Or is it actually you go to the owner and you go, you've got to get your CEO right. If he's putting the right people in place, then the football club should work. Because when you look at the Wanderers, they have a fantastic stadium and fantastic training facilities now.
Some of the best, probably the best in the league.
They've got a fantastic fan base. They've got money, they've got money there. They've got all the recipe to be a real powerhouse, and yet, so who's to blame? Because actually, I would say most of those things mean Paul Lederer is actually doing his job. He's provided a good stadium. He's provided good training grounds. He's provided a club for fans to get behind. So I think it really has to come down to whoever's in charge of the footballing there and the footballing decisions, much like, a Manchester United. All the stuff for success is there, but the person who's making the football decisions isn't a football person, and that's where their errors are coming from. Is it the same at the Wanderers? Is that what the issue is?
I think everyone plays a little part in some way. I think Robertson's responsible for the quality of football at the moment. I think Lederer might be the CEO, and he's provided all the money for all the training facilities, helping play a part to get this new stadium built. But he surely can't be blind to everything that's going on, everything he sees on Twitter. He can't be that blind. And so, JT has a big responsibility too for the constant turnover of coaches. And, I think, it was really crap the way Tony Popovich left like a week before the start of the season. But then we brought in Hayden Fox, who was really disappointed, actually didn't get more of a go.
He really should have a top. I don't know why he hasn't, but hey,
Yeah,
boxes.
and then that was really disappointing that he was just the interim and he didn't really get a go. And then they brought in Josip Gombau, who plays very different to Tony Popovic. But
the football was at least...
Yeah, it wasn't but the bad. And we finished
promising.
6th and we went out in a penalty shootout in the first final. So that was the last time we ever made the finals. But I don't think it was, that was like, it was just like, that wasn't too bad. But then they sacked Josip Gombau. I'm thinking, oh, well, that's pretty crap. And I think that's when they must have brought in Marcus Babbel.
Yep.
I think he had a year and a half, and then
Di Marini.
Yeah, and Di Marini, who only coached a handful of games, and then he was sacked out of the blue. We never knew what happened.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I don't think I was a big fan of Di Marini, but like still, like he's been sacked out of nowhere. Like, what's going on? You literally just signed him to a 3-4 year contract like a month or two ago, and then you've sacked him. And then Robinson's in there. I feel like might be missing a coach.
No, that should
okay,
be
that's
all
right.
Unless there's another interim in there somewhere.
Oh no, like a full-time coach. I think I'm missing. But anyway, like it's the Josip Gombau sacking was questionable. The Di Marini sacking was questionable. The Babbel, more or less, but I still think we were playing better than we were with Carl Robertson. It's a constant turnover, hoping that sacking a coach will solve the problem and bringing in 50 new players a season. And it's not working. It's not working, and I think, you know, if you've got a rotten plant, you rip it out from the roots. You don't trim it and just keep the rot growing. I think it all comes back to potentially JT. Well, I mean, we don't know exactly what's going on behind closed doors, but I think we've really got a glimpse from it from a few comments on Twitter. And so I think there needs to be not just Carl Robinson. I think a lot of people have to change, and that includes JT.
Yep.
Well, I mean, he's the owner. I don't really want to. I think it's JT that probably has to go, along with Carl Robertson, maybe a few other people in the club that, because it's not good from what we've heard.
Yeah, well, it's definitely an interesting kind of picture to watch. Yeah, this club that really shouldn't be where they are, and yet there's a lot of unrest, and I think I guess what encapsulates it for me, what really stands out is that the Wanderers are the Arsenal of the A-League at the moment because they've got RBTV now. Have you watched any RBTV?
Yeah, I've had a glimpse. I haven't really watched it that much because you should be watching the Couch Critics.
But if you've got fans outside every game criticising the club, there's something wrong with the club. Like if that's how your fans have chosen to express themselves week after week, like there's issues. And as much as we enjoy watching, you know, that Arsenal TV stuff, and as much as actually this RBTV is quite fun to watch as a Sydney FC fan, because it's a basket case, and that's not what the Wanderers should be. And so I think that is a sad picture of what's happened to our only Asian champions. So it's definitely interesting. We'll have to wait and see what comes of. My prediction was Robbo gone by round 8. We're at round 5 now.
Yeah, so you wouldn't be right. I've got
3 games left for him to get the sack and be right. I hope for Wanderers fans something changes.
Yeah.
Well, Brad's face sums it up too.
If you want to talk about how Stevie Corica isn't getting the same thing, even though we're equal on points.
Yeah. Well,
I don't.
Brad doesn't want to talk about Steve Corica, but I think there's a reason why he's not under the same pressure. He's under pressure, but not the same pressure. But that's another video.
If he's under pressure.
We'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks with Sydney FC. They finally got their win. Not super convincing, but...
I still even think, you know, if they missed the 8, I don't think he'd be in too much danger. I mean, you know, when you've been at the top, the only way is down, and I think he could be afforded a bad season.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd be afforded 2, but...
Well, that's a video for another time. So if you want to hear our thoughts on Steve Corica, if you want to make Brad talk about Steve Corica for at least 10 minutes, let us know down in the comments. Also, if you've enjoyed us chatting about the Wanderers, leave a like on this video, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We're on our way to 500. We'll keep making videos and having fun chatting about the A-League. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.